In Dallas this morning, a woman linked to another Ebola patient says she's tired of being quarantined. Thomas Eric Duncan is the first person to be diagnosed with Ebola in the United States.
Authorities ordered 4 people not to leave the apartment where Duncan stayed before he was hospitalized. Manuel Bojorquez is in Dallas, where the hospital treating Duncan says it figured out how he originally slipped through the cracks. Manuel, good morning.
Good morning. Texas Health Presbyterian Hospital says a flaw in the way electronic records interacted between the nurse who questioned Duncan and the doctor who treated him led to the miscommunication, which allowed Duncan to go home after his first visit to the ER last week. They say the flaw has now been fixed, but the fallout is far from over. The apartment where 4 people are under quarantine was assessed for decontamination by hazmat crews on Thursday. This is where Thomas Eric Duncan was staying before being admitted to the hospital and diagnosed with Ebola. Parts of the complex were power washed and food and necessities were delivered. One of the residents who has been quarantined came out briefly to bring the supplies inside. Wilfred Smallwood is Duncan's half-brother. His 21-year-old son is one of the people inside this apartment.
I said, everything okay, so we have food, everything's okay, we're here, we are fine.
Access to the apartment complex has been limited to law enforcement, health workers, and the people who live there. Sally Muren is the property manager.
We have different nationalities, have different language barriers that we are trying to work with.
David Bouza is upset that testing hasn't been extended to more residents.
Everybody should be diagnosed here.
You should be screened.
Me and everybody who lives here.
And that hasn't happened.
It doesn't happen.
Texas health officials say the number of people who had direct or indirect contact with Duncan has grown to approximately 100. That includes 3 more children who were removed from school on Thursday. Duncan remains in isolation at this Texas hospital. But if he recovers, he could face legal problems in his home country. Liberian officials released a copy of the passenger health screening form Duncan filled out before boarding his flight from Liberia to the U.S. They believe he lied when he answered no to questions asking if he had contact with anyone infected with Ebola. Liberian officials say Duncan tried to help transport a sick neighbor to the hospital just days earlier. That woman later died from Ebola.
He's gone there and sort of, in a way, put some Americans in a state of fear.
It's unclear whether Duncan knew the woman he helped was infected with Ebola, but Liberian officials believe he did and say they plan to prosecute him. He remains in serious condition here. Charlie?